Imagine a world plunged into darkness. A time when, as the sun set, everything faded away. The streets were shadowed, homes lit by the flickering flames of candles and oil lamps, the air thick with smoke and soot. It was an age when night was a limit, a frontier separating what man could do from what he had to wait until dawn to accomplish. In this setting, the story of a man was born, a man who dared to challenge the dark, a man who failed hundreds, perhaps thousands of times, yet refused to give up. His name was Thomas Alva Edison, the inventor who lit up the world. Thomas Edison was not born into wealth. Quite the opposite. He came into the world on February 11, 1847, in the small town of Milan, Ohio, USA. From an early age, Edison showed that he was different. While other children followed the routine of school, he questioned everything. He always asked why, about every single thing. So curious and restless, he was labeled a problem student. At the age of 7, his teacher called him mentally slow and suggested he be taken out of school. Edison's mother, Nancy Edison, refused to accept that fate for her son. She believed in him with unshakable faith. She decided to teach him at home. And it was there, surrounded by books, experiments, and boundless curiosity, that the spirit of the inventor was born. Edison was fascinated by how things worked. As a young boy, he began setting up a small laboratory in the family basement. He mixed chemicals, dismantled clocks, and even tried to make his own gunpowder. His father, Samuel Edison, thought it was a waste of time, but Nancy saw beyond it. She nurtured her son's curiosity, the spark that one day would illuminate the entire world. At the age of 12, Edison began working, selling newspapers and candy on the trains between Port Huron and Detroit. Inside one of the train cars, he built a small printing press and created his own newspaper, the Grand Trunk Herald. It was his first display of entrepreneurial genius. However, it was also on those train tracks that an accident would change his life forever. One day, while trying to help a train worker, Edison was struck on the head, causing partial hearing loss. From that day forward, he was nearly deaf. But what could have been a tragedy, he turned into an advantage. Edison said that silence helped him concentrate better on his ideas. When he became a telegraph operator, Edison was introduced to a whole new world, electricity. The telegraph was the most advanced technology of the time, and he became obsessed with understanding how electric currents could carry messages across vast distances. During this period, he began creating his first inventions. He developed a telegraph repeater, a device that could automatically relay messages. But his experiments rarely worked on the first try. In truth, they almost never did. Edison failed constantly, but he lived by a philosophy that sustained him. I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. In 1869, Edison decided to move to New York City in search of opportunity. He arrived with almost nothing in his pockets but a mind overflowing with ideas. The beginning was brutal. He slept in basements, went hungry, and was constantly rejected. Until one day, by pure chance, he fixed a stock ticker, a machine that had broken down at the stock exchange. The act impressed a group of businessmen who hired him immediately. With the money he earned, Edison built his first laboratory. And there, the true birth of the genius began. In the following years, Edison developed several revolutionary inventions. He improved the telegraph, created the phonograph, the first device capable of recording and reproducing sound, and began experimenting with something that would forever change the course of humanity: electric light. At the time, lighting was both rare and dangerous. Homes relied on gas lamps, which often caused fires and explosions. Edison believed he could create a safe, practical, and affordable light for everyone. But that belief would be tested to its absolute limit. The project for the electric lamp began in 1878. Edison believed that if he could find the perfect material for the filament, the part that glows inside the lamp, he could create a long-lasting light. He and his team at Menlo Park Laboratory embarked on a journey that would become legendary. They tested everything imaginable: cotton, human hair, bamboo, paper, copper, wire, even exotic plant fibers from Japan. Nothing worked. The filaments would burn out in seconds or minutes. Failure repeated itself day after day, night after night. Edison hardly slept. He would stay in the lab for days on end. It was common to see him with bloodshot eyes, dirty clothes, and an almost insane determination. He tested over 6,000 different materials before finding what he was looking for. While the world mocked him, calling him crazy, he pressed on. In one interview, a reporter asked, "Mr. Edison, don't you feel frustrated for having failed so many times?" Edison calmly replied, "Frustrated? Not at all. I've just discovered 6,000 ways that don't work." Then, on October 21, 1879, the impossible happened. Edison inserted a carbonized cotton filament inside a glass bulb under vacuum and connected it to an electric current. The bulb glowed. For a few minutes, then for hours. And then, it stayed lit for 40 continuous hours. Edison had finally conquered the darkness. But he knew that this was only the beginning. Inventing the bulb was just half the battle. He needed to make it viable for the entire world. Edison didn't want his creation to be a mere scientific curiosity. He dreamed of illuminating entire cities, To do that, he had to design an entire electrical distribution system, something that didn't yet exist. Thus was born the Edison Electric Light Company, which would later evolve into what we now know as General Electric. He built the first electric power plants, designed underground wiring systems, and created the first electric meters. In 1882, the city of New York witnessed something it had never seen before. The Pearl Street neighborhood was illuminated by Edison's electric lamps. The light was clean, constant, and silent. People filled the streets to witness the miracle of light. For the first time, the darkness of night had been defeated. Edison became the symbol of progress, the man who gave humanity the power to conquer the night. But like every great story, Edison's was not without conflict. As his electrical system expanded, a powerful rival emerged, Nikola Tesla. Tesla believed electricity could be transmitted more efficiently through alternating current AC, while Edison insisted on direct current DC. Their rivalry became known as the War of Currents. Edison went as far as conducting public demonstrations, electrocuting animals, to prove that Tesla's system was dangerous. The battle was fierce and stained part of Edison's reputation, yet, time revealed that both men were right in different ways. Tesla triumphed in long-distance energy transmission, while Edison laid the foundation for the modern electrical infrastructure. And while many focused on their feud, Edison kept inventing. He amassed over 1,000 patents, including the carbon microphone, the phonograph, the movie projector, and the voice recorder. Edison was obsessed with work. He slept little, rarely rested, and demanded the same from his employees. He believed that genius was 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. This mindset led him to success, but also to isolation. His personal life suffered. He married twice, had 6 children, but spent far more time in his lab than with his family. Still, to Edison, every second spent chasing an idea was worth more than any comfort or luxury. By the end of his life, Edison had become a living legend. He received awards, honors, and worldwide recognition. Yet, despite the glory, he never forgot his failures. He often said that failure was the real teacher, and that every mistake brought him closer to success. In his final years, frail and aging, he would sit quietly, watching the glow of the lamps, those small sparks that had transformed his life and the destiny of humankind. Thomas Edison passed away on October 18, 1931, at the age of 84. On the day of his funeral, the United States symbolically plunged into darkness. For one full minute, all the lights were turned off in his honor, a silent tribute that said everything. The man who brought light to the world was finally resting in the darkness he had fought so hard to defeat. But his legacy never faded. More than a century later, every light bulb that glows, every screen that shines, every city that glimmers at night, all carry a fragment of the spark he once ignited. Edison's story is not just about invention. It's about resilience, courage, and the human ability to turn failure into triumph. He proved that the greatest lights are born from the deepest shadows. And perhaps, at its core, that's the greatest lesson of all. Failure is not the end. It is simply the path to discovery. Edison failed over 1,000 times, but every attempt brought him one step closer to success. If he had given up on the 999th, the world might still be living in darkness. If this story inspired you, imagine what you could achieve if you never gave up on your own attempts. Every mistake is a hidden opportunity, and every fall is an invitation to rise stronger. Like this video, share it with someone who needs a little light today. And remember, the difference between failure and victory is simply the decision to keep trying.